Oh, Lord, just don't let them know. I just...
I'd like to call the Nashville Town Council meeting to order for April the 5th. If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Father God, we just ask that you direct our plans and purposes here tonight. Ask us to help us in all that we do for the town. We ask for your wisdom, and we just pray, Lord, that you would be with us during this time. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you, Chief. All right, we're going to go ahead, we'll come back to our minutes, but we want to give Chief Puckett an opportunity to introduce to us and to the town some of our newest officers. So I believe Chief Puckett will be coming in with our new canine officers.
Thank you, Council. They're going to get the new additions, but we got some new additions to the police department. It's our K9 unit, and with the support of the council and everything y'all done, we wanted to introduce them to you. I'm going to let them introduce the dogs and the names. We got them from Southern Police K9 thanks to grants. And one of was the Government Crime Commission grant, the other one was special funds, and we also had a AKCB do not grant that we used to purchase that one too. So they're on the street, ready to go. As a matter of fact, Officer Stalin and K9 Renzo have already found a missing kid just a couple weeks ago on the track. So this
Great.
is them, and I'm going to let them introduce them. They're happy.
Yeah. Don't. Ready to go to work.
Hello, this is Renzo. He's about 4 years old. He's a Dutch Shepherd. And I've had him since about November.
Brendo, is that right?
Renzo?
Renzo.
Renzo?
R-E-N-Z-O.
Renzo.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He looks anxious.
Yeah. He's ready to go home.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, officer.
Officer, and your name?
Officer Stallings.
You're Stone.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
I'm Officer Hartman. This is K9 Tito.
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 He's also a Dutch Shepherd, born in Hungary, the country. He's a little over a year old, and I've had him for about 3 months.
Okay. Well,
He's
very
still
good.
a baby.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for bringing them and introducing them to us. And we know that they'll be good public servants for the town. We appreciate
exactly
their
right.
service as well as you as officers. Thank you very
I have
much.
a question.
Renzo.
Louise has a question.
Do they go home with you at night?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
yes.
So,
It's like they're children.
Yeah.
He's my baby.
All right.
Renzo
Yeah,
and
we
Tito.
got him right down the road here, and Officer Hartman was off today, so he came in tonight. Officer Stalin has been here since 6 this morning, so.
Wow.
I'm sure he is ready to
He's
go.
ready to go.
then.
Thank you very much.
Looking for a successful unit. Thank you.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, officers. Thank you. Give them a hand.
Your baby's like my baby. Wild.
Right. Well, if everybody came to work that energetic, huh? All right, now for the approval of our minutes. If you would take a look at your March 1st, 2022 minutes. Are there any corrections?
Madam Pro Tem, I do see a needed correction here.
Okay.
On page 6,
Mm-hmm.
page 6, the second paragraph, it said, with Anna Joyner, gave
Yes.
her address,
Yes.
and brought up the 10 cars in one yard.
Yes, sir.
It's listed as in Wynwood subdivision. That is not Wynwood subdivision. It should be Woodfield.
Okay.
and also on page 17.
Page 17. Okay.
I think that's a map of the cemetery.
Is that a map of?
Okay, on page 17, the map. The map is a map of the cemetery, and I think it should be of Cardinal Woods.
Okay.
Behind Glover Park. Long map.
I kept trying to figure this map out, and I couldn't figure it out to save my life.
I'm not sure how that got in there, but okay.
I was going to say, I don't think the development's going to be at the cemetery.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Are there any other corrections? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So made.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then for our March 2nd, 2022 called meeting, the minutes for that, are there any corrections?
Believe there were none. I move to approve.
I hear a motion, second.
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes from March 2nd, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. And then our last minutes are for it was a regular meeting at Town Hall on March 24th in Town Council Chambers. Do I hear a motion for approval of those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Okay, and I was told that Chief Puckett was our only public comment, so we have covered that. And at this time, we'll ask Oppie Jordan if she would come and give us an economic development update.
I think I'm going to sit here. Can you hear me okay?
Speak loudly.
The rain is,
Is this not working?
Got a little hum in the background.
It's the rain? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. All right. I just want to give you a quick update as I try to do frequently. If you look at this activity map, you can see on this activity map the number of projects that we have going on, and you can see all of them around the Nashville Business Park and also around Kingsborough and also around the Kingsborough Mega Site and the Tarboro Commerce Center. And we are working on a significant project that just came in and would be the biggest project, and they basically would definitely have impact on Nashville, Tarboro, and many of the counties surrounding, because it is a huge project that is looking at our area. So we're pretty excited about that. So I hope I'll be able, and I have to submit it by Thursday of this week, but it is so confidential, but it is, when I say millions, I mean it is the B word. So it's our turn for one of those in Eastern North Carolina. So we're pretty excited about it. And that will have an impact. And as I was just telling Randy, when I come back to the March meeting, I'm going to have some layouts on several of these sites for you of some shell buildings that I think we have the potential to go forward with. And we're going to be, and I have identified some developers that I think are now getting very interested in our entire area. The active projects for Nashville, which is the Nashville Business Center, the Project Metal, that project is going to happen. The steelist young man is working on that with the sheet metal fabrication, and he is finalizing his plans, and that will definitely be happening. So hopefully maybe by the summer we'll have an announcement on that one. And I think I already have him about 6 individuals from the Southwest Edgecombe High School. They have a welding program, and so I think we're going to have some folks ready to go to work right out of high school for him. And as you can see, these other projects are still looking, but the buildings won't be there, so they'll have to look at building their own building, and we'll help them with that. The Nashville Commerce Center, where the Park Shell building, we have applied. When I say we, my partner over here, Randy, has applied for the Golden Leaf Grant. I feel really good about that for you guys, and we're going to keep working on that for infrastructure. I've also put in an application for the Duke Site Readiness, which will also be, both of those funds can work together to do the due diligence that's needed to be done at the site. So that would save the town of Nashville money to not have to do that due diligence, which is definitely required by all of the developers and companies that are looking at our area. So that's a quick report for you, and if you want to keep those, it's okay. And if you have any questions of me, I'm happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Oppie? Oppie, we certainly thank you for all that you're doing to help us out here, and please keep on. We need it.
It's a great place. It's just, I mean, it's awesome to be able to take them through this downtown and see the small community thriving, and it's just, it's amazing. So thanks to all of you for your support as well.
Thank you.
And I'm going to
Okay.
it's okay, I may be excused so I can get home.
All right. Moving on now, we come to item 6, which will be a public hearing. So is Coy here tonight, or are you handling this?
He's here.
There he is. Okay. I didn't recognize you without the cap.
Good evening.
Good evening, Coy.
So what I have for you to consider tonight, our farmers market is scheduled to open April 22nd and will be open every Friday from 3 to 7. The dates that are listed in front of you, these are dates that, along with normal market operations, we would also like to have a variety of either live music or mobile food vendors, food demonstrations, just a variety at all these dates throughout. And there's roughly one date per month. Depending on the vendors we have and what produce we have available, we'll name those dates after what's available. For example, in August, we're hoping to have a watermelon day, lots of watermelon. In June, it'll be around Father's Day. July, we'll theme it towards Independence Day. So we've put these all together into one public hearing for you to consider.
Okay.
And if you have any questions on those.
All right. So we need to hold the public hearing to see if there's any input from the public. Do I hear a motion that we go into public hearing?
So made.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Is there anyone who would wish to speak regarding the special event permit for the new and upcoming farmers market? All right, there being no one to speak, would someone please make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, so at this time, we've held the public hearing. We need to approve the special event permit as Coy has presented to us. Is there any discussion?
I'm glad he did clarify, because when I first saw these dates, I said, well, we only gonna have the farmer's market one Friday out of every month, but those are the dates you got added attractions and stuff in there.
Yes, sir.
But it will be every Friday once it starts.
Yes, sir. Normal market operations don't require a special event permit
Right.
per the town code. But whenever we have live entertainment or mobile food vendors, that's when the special event permit is required.
And that's why you put that there. I understand now. Thank you.
Coy, I have a question. How many vendors do you have lined up for the 22nd?
We have over 20 applications in. We haven't went through to let vendors know whether or not they're accepted to the market. And what I mean by that is, I wish we could take everybody, but if we have, like, say, 5 or 6 that are selling the same product, of course, it's not going to be successful for any of them. So we haven't went through that. We're hoping to have at least 15 per market. And of course, some of those will be guest vendors, but we're really hoping that people will commit for the whole season. And when we put together the guidelines, of course, we give preference to Nashville residents first before other vendors.
So you're looking at accommodating 15 at a time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, let's see, do we have a motion on the floor? Did we-
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, and I think in addition to that, Coy, you wanted to speak to the council about the possibility of whether or not we want to continue to require special event applications for each event, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. We were hoping to get some input and some guidance from the council, since at the Nashville Junction location, we are eventually going to build the amphitheater there and plan on having these events regularly, whether that be once a month. If it's the desire to council to keep the ordinance the way it is and have us come to you and do the public hearing for each of those special events, or maybe we can amend that for that location. Just some guidance from you. Every time we do one of these special event permits, of course, advertising in the local paper costs around $50 per application, which is, again, why we try to group them together when we can, just to get some input from the council moving forward, how you would like to see us do that.
Council, do you have any thoughts?
My only concern is if we approve, I mean, and this is new for us in Nashville.
Right.
If we approve it throughout the whole year, we don't know what kind of pushback that we're gonna get from the general public,
We need a sense
or
of
how much
oversight.
support, or how much support we're gonna have once it hits the ground running. So I think we need to give ourselves a chance to look at each individual one until we figure out, do we have a smooth
Especially
slate to
since
work
we
with?
have neighbors.
Right, we got
Yeah,
neighbors
so I
we
think
still have
it's-
to consider.
we have
For me, it's a
consider.
maybe, where let's go forward as we have, but then once we get a sense of comfort, we see how it goes.
Then we can look at
and-
it again.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But I do like the idea of grouping together when we can, to not
Save on
have
the
wasteful
trips.
costs,
Right,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly, the council's wishes is to continue the process as we have been doing at Coy, and maybe at a later date, we can revisit that if need be.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you. Now going on to our old business. This is the Mayo Farm Holdings annexation. And let's see. Okay, Sarah?
Yes, so back on March 1st, the town council reviewed annexation petition 2022-01 for the Cardinal Woods subdivision. And the clerk was instructed to investigate the petition and make sure it meets all the sufficiency guidelines. And I have completed that review, and I have presented for you a certificate of sufficiency for the record so that we have a motion that shows that you have reviewed that, and it confirms that it meets the requirements that are set forth for annexations.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from council? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. All right, motion passed. Okay, and then our next item, again from Sarah, this is the notice of public hearing on request for annexation. Sarah?
So this is just the next step in the annexation procedure. It's to go ahead and schedule a public hearing for this application and have the public be made aware of the hearing in the newspaper. And we would like to hold that public hearing on Tuesday, May 3rd, and that is the next regularly scheduled town council meeting.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
To approve, go ahead.
Second.
Second. It's been motioned and seconded to approve notice for public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And our next item, this is regarding the hiring of Kara Rogers from the Dorner Grant Consultants related to the submission of a rural transformation grant application. Sarah?
Yep, so as Mayor Pro Tem Hobbs may recall, we sat in on a conference call with Kara about a week or so ago to discuss the rural transformation grant that was submitted to us by Senator Lisa Barnes. So it is a opportunity for Nashville to hopefully secure some funding for the junction and the farmers market. And it could provide up to $950,000 for municipalities for downtown revitalization projects and public improvements. So Kara is available to assist us with that grant. And if the council is so inclined, we would just request the passage of Resolution 2022-10, which authorizes the submission of an application for Nashville. And to make you aware as well, if the grant is received, Kara's firm will require 2% of the grant award.
And if the grant is not awarded, there will be no fee. Is that
That's correct. There's no fee if we do not receive the grant.
Any comments from the council?
On page 36, the list of items, the parking lot and stormwater detention, it's $380,000. And the stage and pavilion alone with restrooms and $275,000.
Randy, can I defer to you for those?
And it totals $937,000. And
So-
we had originally allocated $275,000.
That is correct. Being a grant, I took the liberty of put in the application all the things that we've talked about and envisioned for the Nashville Junction, which is, a full parking lot for 125 cars with a full base. I think that 175 that the council approved was with a shallower base, and to make sure that it's asphalted and concreted. And we have the on-site stormwater retention. The pavilion and stage, once we added restrooms and a concession area, pretty much doubled the cost estimate on that particular project. It would be a restroom sufficient in size that you could easily accommodate a crowd of, 200 or 300 people. So there would be plenty of stalls in each of the men's and the ladies' room in there, so we wouldn't have to bring in extra porta potties anytime we have an event there. And then we also talked about being a good neighbor and having some type of sound barrier wall between the stage, amphitheater, pavilion, whatever you want to call it, and the properties to the east. So I took the liberty of putting in a sound barrier wall of some type in that cost estimate, along with a parking lot around, a sidewalk around the perimeter of the facility on Cross Street, on Barn Street and Railroad Street, and then sidewalks leading from various areas within the Nashville Junction complex itself. So that came up to $750,000, 13% for engineering, 10% for contingency, and $937,500.
That's a far cry from the 275 that we first allocated.
This is a wish list. This is something that is put together that if we could get this would be amazing for our town.
Okay, if we don't get it, do we fall back to the 275?
Yes.
That's what the council has approved to spend on this project to date, yes.
Okay. As long as that's understood. I realize you put this in here to make it, to get as much as we could out of the grant, but some of these things up here that we may have to, if we don't get it, we've got to scale it back. Because every time we bring up the junction, the numbers get bigger.
Well, unfortunately, it keeps moving down the road.
I know, but
those costs keep going up.
We just approved an engineering fee of $20,000, and this fee is $112,000.
For all of that additional.
But the scope of work is quite more substantial here.
Yeah, for this, yes.
We're fortunate that we have an opportunity for nearly $1 million grant, so if we can get that, I think that would be very beneficial to the town. Any other discussion? Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second, okay.
Mayor Pro
Motion's been
Tem,
made.
could you also get a motion on hiring Kara Rogers to do the grant for us?
Okay. Is that within the motion, or do
Yes, I move that we hire Kara Rogers to do the grant for us as well.
Second.
All right, it's been made, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, next item tonight is the application with the NCDEQ Wastewater Reserve Fund for the rehabilitation of the sewer outfall line. Good evening.
Good
Mike.
evening.
Mike Tolson is here with us.
My name is Mike Tolson with McKay Associates. Good to see all of you again. Thank you for letting me come before you this evening. We have been working diligently on the AIA condition assessment on the sewer and the water in the system that last time I was here, that's what we were working on contracts for. And so I wanted to provide a small update on that for you as well, but also it kind of springboards us into this Stoney Creek outfall. We wanted to get down the Stoney Creek outfall before the leaves started coming out and the legless friends like snakes and everything else could come out on that outfall. So we got down there about a month ago. We got most of the way down there. There are several areas that need attention is the best way to put it, for trees to be removed and just to maybe get into a rehab mindset on that outfall. It is a almost 20,000 foot outfall line. It represents a substantial portion of your sewer system, and it is almost impassable in parts due to beaver activity that just that plague outfalls in any part of North Carolina. So we met with Randy after and gave him a little bit of a synopsis on all this, and asked if you would be willing to apply for these this round of ARPA funds that are coming from state level, not the local group, but this new state run funding is coming through. Deadline for the applications is May 2nd. And we are going to try and put a project together that will generate or create access down that easement, clean it up, get you some sort of a passable, I won't say all-weather, but it will be a very three-season, mostly all-weather road, but it won't be a paved road, but it will be able to be accessed by utility vehicles that can get down it and do maintenance work to the system, as has not been able to be done for probably the past 20 years. Get the beaver dams cleaned out, humanely, as you're required to by law, but also get some passable logging mats and everything there at the worst spots, bring in log mats and bring in stone and build as functional a road as we can within that area in the environmentally sensitive areas that it is, simply because it's right next to Stoney Creek. But then it would basically, it's a project that will cost about, to reline that 19,000 feet with the manholes and everything, would be in the tune of about $7 million. But the ARPA funds that are coming through, that are available through this round of projects, or through this round of funding, it makes the town, and every town in North Carolina, eligible for up to $15 million of grant funding through the ARPA funding program. And so we would like to apply for the town, on behalf of the town, to try and get those funds so that we can do this Stoney Creek project. We also would be looking for some rehabilitation on some other parts of sewer that we found some substantial leaks that are infiltration into the system, that are contributing to the very high sewer bills, or sewer wastewater treatment bills that you send to the city of Rocky Mount, that we could hopefully reduce that volume substantially by just fixing a few of the leaks that we found. One of the reports and one of the things we've done is we've concentrated on the north of 64 corridor, if you will, of the sewer outside of that area. So that's why we picked up Stoney Creek, and we picked up the outlying neighborhoods that the town serves out there first, and have done condition assessments on 300 of the town's 840 manholes so far. So we're about 45% done. It's labor intensive because a lot of them are buried. They can be paved over. We have to open them up, look in there, do the inspection, measure them, and do all those sorts of things. So it takes some time to get this done, but we're slowly getting our way across the town. And we've started on the most outlying areas and are working our way into town, and should go a little bit quicker once we move inside that, the town limit sort of, mindset of south of 64. But what I have told Randy in our summary meeting that we had was that we found probably around 200 gallons a minute of leaks in those manholes. If you add them all up, a gallon here, 2 gallons there, and a gallon a minute leak in a manhole is roughly equates to about 43,000 gallons a month, just 1 gallon. So if we find 200 gallons of leaks, that's a substantial amount that you are paying to have treated and pumped to another town, and you're paying them, and on top of that, possible surcharges. But there is an awful lot of room of reduction in I&I in this, just in the limited bit we've seen. We're only 45% of the way through. We haven't even gotten to the oldest part of the sewer system yet. So just for food for thought for that range. And what we were hoping to do was add a portion of rehab of those mains that we've seen and those leaks we've seen, and incorporate that in the Stoney Creek project, and hopefully get some of those leaks repaired as part of these funds too. So that's why the price tag is a little inflated, just like you do with grant work, but also at the same time, it's so that we can get as big a bite at the apple as we can in this first round that's coming through. There will be a second round at the for funding opportunities for ARPA in September as well, and we hope to be finished with the sewer assessment and hopefully most of the water assessment. But we hope to have found pretty much all the leaks in the system that we can go out and address, and maybe go in for another application to do a pointed rehab on manholes and lining on sewer lines, so that we can reduce I&I as much as possible. Because I've seen quite a bit in just the few manholes that I have been out and helped them pick open and look, and several. I'm sure we'll find several more every day. I get about 5 or 6. Pictures and images of inside of manholes and of the leaks and the active leaks and everything. So I can share some of those with you, but you don't want pictures of the inside of manholes on your phone. It's just not entertaining.
Understood.
Looking at,
I'm sorry, go ahead,
No,
sir.
no, you go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh,
I was just gonna say that we have to apply, May 2nd is the deadline. We're just like the other two items just before this, you have to, sign a resolution that identifies an authorized official to sign the applications. And, we, as Matt Gay Associates, does not charge a fee for filling out the applications or anything unless you're awarded, and in the long run, you would still go through a procurement process where you would select an engineer and everything like that. So we are doing this to try and get the funding available because it's a part of what needs to be done to help the town find. I mean, these funds are unprecedented in what they're going to be able to do for towns, and I hope everybody in Eastern North Carolina gets their share of them, but certainly right around here where it can do the most good. So,
looking through this grant, the outline here, it refers quite a bit to COVID-19, the pandemic.
I think that may be the Rural Transformation Grant Fund. And when we're talking about the DEQ wastewater.
So that's a different.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mine is the one that I'm hoping to fill out for the town is directly tied to the American Rescue Plan, and not a COVID.
Okay.
It's not tied to a COVID-related condition.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Out of the 40% that you've done so far, do we just not have enough information to request money for the linings of the ones that are needed for that at this point?
So all of these grants, they get scored. And what you go for and say, these are 40-year-old lines or older. What we have found is a lot of the system that's outside of that north of 64 corridor, other than the Stoney Creek, which is well over 40 years old, is newer lines. The line to Universal Leaf, we found a few leaks in that line just due to either, bad construction or just unfortunate, high groundwater that just has found its way in. That line wouldn't technically be eligible for grant funding. It would be for replacement if you could add it in and make it a part of the Stoney Creek line, but there's enough main to where we would need $20 million to line everything we've seen so far. But the Stoney Creek needing access, it being an outfall, being close to an environmentally sensitive area, would score the highest and get us the most funds, and it is the oldest set of lines that needs the most attention in your system. And it's a big enough bite to take at trying to get started on rehab, and the other portion we were going to add in is over from the line that comes in from the prison that comes on the other side of town, that I'll just call the Department of Corrections line, even though it's not anywhere near the actual prison. It's where those lines come in. They're in pretty bad condition, and they're right at the 40-year-old mark based on what I can document so far. You get more points in an application when you score it, and you're saying, we're going to replace 40-year-old lines. We're going to report, we don't really get many points for replacing 35-year-old lines. They've got to be 40 or older. I can throw some 35-year ones in there, but they can't represent more than 50% of the cost of the project. And all of those things you just kind of have to play to get the biggest score so that you get priority in all of these applications. And it's I won't say it's a game, but you want to score the high as you can so you're at the top of the list to actually get the funding, because they may get, if there's $100 million to give out and we apply for 7 or 8 and they have 10 more people that come in and want 15 apiece and they all score higher, then we might be just under that line and not get anything. And that's, you want to make the most sense you can make on all of that. So we've got a really good opportunity. We can prove the I&I in the system. We can prove the age of the lines. We've got, clear evidence that shows that this is a needed project and that you can't, physically get down. And all of the other scoring categories we can get will help us greatly to be able to do it. So that's a long way of saying, yes, we can do some more, but there's also some spotted things we can add into that project to get, that's a specific leak, we can fix that and we can clear up 50,000 gallons a month right there. Yes, we'll put those in the project and they'll get done as a matter of course, but they won't be how we actually get the funding, procured, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we can also include the cost that we're having to burden, had to bear going to Rocky Mount. We can include that in there, what it's costing us.
Just as part of the argument in the
it's
application?
part of the argument to
Yes, sir,
get
absolutely.
approved.
Yeah, that's part of the
costing us
justification.
Yeah.
I'll write a 5 or 10 page narrative about why and how, what for, and I've gotten good records from everybody on what the documenting of the financials and showing what the burden it is. Yes, sir. That'll all be a very big part of my argument when I'm writing all of the application line work. And then on top of that, we'll do an estimate that will clearly detail how much this is costing and what we expect to encounter from the fixes.
Okay.
Mike, if you could explain what I&I is to, a lot of people don't know
I'm
what
sorry.
I&I is.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
also slip lining. A lot of people don't understand what slip lining is.
Yes, ma'am. So I&I is just a shorthand way of saying inflow and infiltration. So inflow and infiltration. Inflow is considered when, say for instance, I've got a manhole next to the creek and the creek gets up and it pours in the top. That is inflow. That is a direct, measurable amount of impact coming into a leak in a hole or a leak out. That's an exfiltration. But infiltration is the small leaks that come from the little mortar joints inside of the manholes that constantly weep just a little bit of water. And it may just look like one little drop of water here, but if it's one little drop of water coming in 100 little cracks in the manhole, it's 100 drops of water all day long, 24/7. And so we line manholes with material, and then we do something called slip lining to the mains, which are also, full of cracks and joints and everything else. The mains, the pipes that convey the sewer under the water, are constantly being attacked by the groundwater level. In eastern North Carolina, it's just you're in groundwater when you kick over a rock in most parking lots around here. So what you wind up having is an inundation of water coming in infiltration through the cracks where roots find their way into the lines and clog up lines and do all kinds of damage and really clog things up and make it so that it's just a general nightmare for Lee and his crews. But the bottom line is slip lining. They take a fiberglass impregnated plastic liner sheet that has a fiberglass resin on the outside of it, and they invert it and pull it through the mains, and then they blow it up with either steam or with hot water, and it cures in place. It hardens to the inside of the shell, and so it's a slipped liner into that main. It's called cured in place pipe a lot more these days than slip liner because it's a little bit different technology, but it's the same concept. And so they cure it, they pull it through, and they cure it in place. They run steam through it for 2 hours or for a half hour, whatever it dictates, depending on the size of the pipe. And what that does is it seals those cracks that are in the pipe that were exposed to groundwater. Now it's got one solid pipe going through the whole thing where that water can't infiltrate into those cracks anymore. And you find that around the services where where the service from your house ties into the main, there's leaks at those joints. They go back in and they reinstate those with a robotic cutter so that you can still flush the toilets in your house. But for a few minutes there, when they've lined that line and haven't cut those services back in, you're at danger of a sewer leak in your house. But that's normally very short, and we take care of those situations. But bottom line is they cut those back out, reinstate service, and you have cut down drastically the amount of infiltration that's coming in. And in North Carolina, and just in this area, the groundwater level is so high that you can't fully eliminate all of it. But when you have as much of it as having an age system like Nashville has, you gotta start somewhere and start picking at putting projects together that will start knocking it back.
What's the lifespan of that fix?
Sorry, I thought I heard it from over here.
I know. Echoes.
So the liner itself is just like putting in a new PVC line. That line is completely renewed inside. The diameter winds up being a little bit smaller, so the capacity is lessened, but not by much because it's a much smoother internal ratio on the pipe. But 50, 60 years easily with before, and with thorough inspection and cleaning, it should last certainly long enough for us not to need to worry about it anymore.
Right.
I would say that's a cute answer to the fact, but at the same time, I haven't seen any limits to the service life on it yet. And just like PVC, when PVC was introduced and started getting used pretty widely, everybody was saying, well, it's got a 25-year service life, it's got a 50-year service life, but we're well into 50 years of PVC, and nobody's seeing any limitations to it yet, truly, because it's a very good material for conveying sewer. So it gets dirty, but you can clean it, so. But with that, that is kind of an update on what we're doing with the AIA. We have started gathering some water. but we wanted to do the sewer in the colder parts because you have a lot of outfalls in town. We wanted to get there before the leaves were out too bad, because we are collecting this data with GPS. But we've shown Randy some of what it can do, and kind of what where the assets are coming in, and some of the attributes that we're populating in the tables. And I think he liked it. He seemed to like it the day we showed it to him. And we'll continue to build that, and we'll start training people that are going to need to use it and to be able to show it. We could even come in here and show it one night and just kind of show you some of those things that it can do. Bottom line is it's a tool that's going to be there for you to use in perpetuity, and it'll get all of the maps that Lee brought over to my office that we've scanned. It'll get all of those at your fingertips instead of you having to go thumb through a pile of maps to go find a specific line. We got most of that done and returned most of them, but had a lot of maps, had a whole lot of maps to go through, so that took us a little while. But with that said, to be able to apply, we need to do the resolution. If you guys could consider that, and we can go from there. I think the resolution we filled out names Randy as the signing agent, so we won't need to come back in front of the board for anything else, but it's just like all the other applications we put in. The resolution gets us the right to apply, and then we can go from there. It just makes you guys aware that we're applying for funds on your behalf. Okay. I will say this, the AIA and water and sewer AIA funds that we did not get in the last round, we are eligible to apply for also. I know it's not an item on this agenda, but we have filled those resolutions out, and we can go in for those again. We have the applications filled out. There is about 10 times the amount of funding available for this round of AIAs coming around. Like I said again, it's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of funding opportunity, so I think it would be wise to put in again for those. We have to have a resolution for both of those, and I've given Randy those forms, but they're not listed on your agenda. I don't know how we need to do that, but it is basically applying for the same program that we haven't scored well enough to get these last couple of times. But I think our shot is, we're due at some point as far as that goes, because it's it is so much more funding allowed, and they have also split up the viable utility people. The distressed units that they designated are not in running for the AIA funds you'd be going into again. So hopefully that would be a fair scoring this time, because we did score well last time. We just a couple of points underneath the cutoff line.
What sort of application deadlines are we looking at for those? That's
May 2nd as well.
Okay.
And see, we've already put those together. It would be a dust off and change it, just new resolution and update a couple of things and new dates. I mean, it's not any more true effort other than putting a new face with it, because it's been considered twice. So you have to go in with a new application. So hopefully we can pick up a point or two, maybe tweak a narrative somewhere in there and pick up 1 or 2 points. But the bottom line is there's just a whole lot more funding available that makes some sense to try and go after. And it would be $150,000 per grant, and you can use it then for TV of the system, or much further asset management and work to be able to smoke test and do some of the actual in-ground investigation work to kind of get the whole city or the whole town kind of videoed and investigated, so that you know exactly where the leaks are in the pipes as well, and that way it will help focus a lot of your future capital investments.
Okay. So
Randy asked me to mention that because I don't think it was clear that I had sent those to try and resubmit those, but we can do that if the board wishes.
So you need. Go ahead.
Approve the resolution.
All right. Which one are we approving? Are you
the
one in the book?
The one in the book.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the resolution regarding the sewer rehabilitation project.
Second.
I hear second. Second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. No, I didn't say no. Sorry, that just came out. That wasn't a. Okay. Now, do we need? You don't have a resolution for us for the A1A grants, but you're saying that
we do. It's just not before you.
Okay.
So if somebody wanted to make a motion to approve a resolution to resubmit our AIA grant applications in a second, then we can work with Mike to get those turned in by May 2nd also.
I'll offer that motion.
I second.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda is another application. doing lots of applications tonight. This one's for the NCDEQ Wastewater Reserve Fund for the Essex Road and Regency Estates sewer extension projects. Randy, is that you?
Yes, yes. It is the same fund, and as Mike mentioned, we are eligible to apply up to 15 million. Kevin Varnell has put together a revised cost estimate for putting a sanitary sewer system in that portion of the Essex Road subdivision that currently doesn't have access to the town sewer. There are 24 homes there, and also a portion of the Regency Estates subdivision. There are 24 homes in that subdivision that don't have access. So the cost estimate for that is 2.7 million. We have a resolution number of 11 in the packet this evening that will authorize submission of a wastewater reserve fund application for these two sewer extension projects. And we're working with Ellen Page with the Upper Coastal Plains Council of Government. She is the one preparing this application for the reserve water funding for the town.
Any questions or comments from this council?
What's the breakout of Essex versus Regency?
660 and 1.2.
Yeah, the Essex Road is about 660,000 of that
Okay.
2.7. The Regency one is expensive because there's a section of 64 we have to get underneath.
It's 1.5.
And we don't have any sewer in Regency at all, do we?
We
Part
do,
of it.
Larry,
We do?
but you know how that subdivision sits upon a hilltop?
Right.
So about 2/3 goes to the northeast, and that all gravity flows to the Regency lift station. And then that's pumped under 64 and hits the fallout line somewhere near Red Oak Road's intersection with Stoney Creek.
Okay.
The northeast 1/3 or 1/4 of that subdivision,
Does not.
it couldn't gravity flow. So that was built with septic systems. And they are of the same age as the ones in Essex Road, and they too are experiencing problems, as you guys know.
Any other comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve Resolution 2022-11?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Our next item is from our Code Enforcement Officer, Sean Lucas, is here tonight to give a staff's recommendation related to the condemnation and demolition of abandoned structure. So,
Good
good
afternoon,
evening.
Mayor Pro Tem and Town Board member councils. We have two of them tonight. The first one is 212 Vale Street. That is a code enforcement issue. It is an accessory building. It's about a 10 by 10 when we got out. We didn't do actual physical measurement, just getting out and kind of pacing it. It was about 10 by 10. That one is pretty much in a direct status that it needs to be knocked down. It's been held by boards. I do have pictures if you guys have not been out to see it, if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, let's go ahead, Sean, if you have
Okay.
it.
You want to see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rolled back before I came up here.
Now my mouse won't work.
Go down to,
We only have one property on the agenda.
okay, we're going to need to do the 16 make one then? We can wait on that.
Okay. Sure.
That's the property right there, comes to the council.
Okay.
Turn the light down so that
Yes.
you
The
can see it.
public see it. Okay.
You guys need one more.
I can see it, but I'm sitting.
Yeah.
That's the shed right there that we're looking at. It's a code enforcement issue, so we didn't have to go through all the other steps we had to do. We sent out 3 letters. The first one went out May 20th, 2021 last year to the owner over there at 212 Vale. Second one went out on August the 3rd. The third one went out December the 2nd as a final notice, letting them know that we need them to do something to the shed. That's where the tree fell on about a month ago. They just cut the tree down when I rode by today. We went out on January the 26th and February 22nd of this year to do a final visual checkup, and the barn's pretty much in the same status. So I want to ask the board to make a request that if you guys could adopt the ordinance of 2002-02 to have the shed removed by one of our companies. And the cost of this project, this is just random ballpark figures off the top of my head. As long as that shit is, you're not looking at no much of spending right at the amount of $500, maybe $1,500, $1,500, no more than about $2,500 at the most.
Okay.
We haven't got a test for asbestos from the last time the guys were out who did asbestos tests on the other 2 houses. We're getting knocked down this week on that area, and there was no asbestos found on it. So this will be pretty much just getting the crew to come in, take it out, and haul it off. This property does have old taxes on it. Right now, the taxes owed on this property is $357.89. So this is probably one of the ones that we knock it down. In another couple of years, we'll probably put a lien on the property to obtain our funds back for doing the service.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Sean?
So no contact at all with the owner?
No contact at all. All the mail has come back returned to sender, non-deliverable, and we kept a copy of it put in the file to show that we did do it. The notice in the other pictures I have, you can see on that one right there, we did place a notice on it that the building was unsafe for anybody to be around it, and also notice of the letters we put in for the owner to contact us.
So in those pictures, is it the house to the right that it's on that property?
It is on a vacant lot. I sent a letter out to the house to the right of it because I thought that owner owned the property, but he has called me and let me know and assured me that that property, the barn does not belong to him, it is on the other property.
Okay.
All right. Wishes of council? Do I hear a motion?
Motion made to move forward with demolition.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Got that one
How
taken
much
care
does
of.
that leave in our $45,000?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, with the other two getting down, we should have approximately around about $20,000 to $15,000 left. But we got one more that I'll be bringing back to you guys at the next town council meeting for a 60-day review for you guys to vote on. Then we'll come back after 6 days to have that one taken down. We're trying to get these next three taken down in this fiscal budget year. So when July comes in, we got about 4 more that we'll be looking at going through the next fiscal year.
How are some of the other code enforcements going? I know you have a whole.
They're going good. A lot of the owners, I got out for the past couple of weeks, been riding around. I see the grass has been growing. A lot of the owners have now started complying since letters started last year going out. Let them know that, you know, we're going in a new approach for our enforcement. Tree limb pickup with Public Works has been working great. We're making owners to abate with that, either paying the fine or having Public Works pick it up. So code enforcement is going pretty good. A lot of owners have started cleaning up a lot of things that have been missed in the past couple of years.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for all you're doing to help us keep our town clean and in good order.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
All right. Next item on the agenda is Sherry. This is an ordinance. We'll let you give us a discussion on this.
Okay, just to give you a little history, so I'm sure you all were aware of the advisory boards that that planning staff oversees. Beginning of the year, we did information packets, the listed, the rules of procedure or whatnot. So on behalf of the MSD, as I was looking through the rules of procedure and bylaws and what was actually in the ordinance, there were some changes. There were things in the actual ordinance that wasn't updated. So it first started off with your rules of procedure, I believe, when the MSD board was first initially staffed, maybe back in 2016, and then November of 2019, the bylaws were adopted, approved and adopted by the town council. And then, so with those changes, the actual chapter 8, Article 5 of the Municipal Service District in the Code of Ordinances did not reflect for the part of the Municipal Service District Advisory Board was never updated to be known as the Downtown Nashville Strong Advisory Board. So it's just cleaning up the ordinance and the bylaws. So in your packet, what you have, so one of the changes that needs to be tweaked and was Division 4 to act, the Code of Ordinances need to reflect that the Municipal Service District Advisory Board is now referred to as the Downtown Nashville Strong Advisory Board. And 2, Section 8-355, the revisions to update the language in the Code of Ordinances regarding membership, appointment, and terms to read as the same as what is listed in the Downtown Nashville Strong bylaws. So it was a little clip from that needs to be revised so they can still be in compliance with each other. And also you have the bylaws, so an amendment was needed for the Downtown Nashville Strong Advisory Committee bylaws to revise the existing language regarding membership total, terms of membership, quorum, and voting, per recommendation by planning staff and the Downtown Nashville Strong Advisory Board. The terms of membership is proposing to change from July to June to January to December to be inconsistent with the other terms of the advisory boards, with members of the Downtown Nashville Strong serving 2 consecutive 3-year terms, and that was a recommendation from the MSD board. So in addition, voting information was not within the bylaws, so it looked like they took everything from the rules of procedure and made the bylaws, but that was a section that was out of how everyone should vote, so that information was recommended to be added in there. And so you have in the packet that you have, so everything is listed in red are all the changes that need to be were the recommendations.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Sherry?
So for membership, I had just emailed Sherry and Randy because originally it went to the Downtown Nashville Strong Advisory Board because we were having such a hard time getting property owners to be able to come to these meetings and be on the board. And so I think you have different language that is going to replace that, or it's
That was just a suggestion I put on there if you wanted to read that
Okay.
way, what I replied back to you.
because the majority of
Okay.
our board members now are business owners, but they don't
Right.
physically own the physical property.
Right.
And so Sherry had suggested that we do something where it states that the majority of, not the majority, where the
Take
board
that
will be
first-
the board will be made up of business owners, property owners, and those who have vested interests or other persons with knowledge or abilities deemed beneficial for the purpose of the association.
Right, so
So
you'd
it's
be
just a more
taking,
generalized.
so you'd just be taking that majority of property owners out and just include the property owners in with the rest of the list.
Okay.
Well, the property owners are the ones who are being taxed,
Right,
and I feel like they're the ones who should be
they should,
on.
We have
Right.
asked,
The
we
board.
have recruited, we have done everything that we possibly can, and we get the business owners, which is
Right.
fantastic, but the property owners, I don't know if it's not time, or maybe they're not interested, I don't know what it is, but it was extremely difficult.
I just have a problem with people on the advisory board who are not paying the tax. Now, I know if you have a business, you're paying an indirect tax.
Yeah, you're paying the
Right.
rent, which is
Yeah,
then in turn paying the
indirect
tax.
But,
right, but, and I will honestly say, well, with the ones that we do have, they put forth great input and feedback for the projects and everything they want to do for the downtown, for the MSD district.
That's true. I think
They do.
the business owners have been they participate greatly in
Right.
the discussions and decisions that are being made.
Yeah, we just need more property owners.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I will,
Good.
continue to encourage it.
Anything else? The wishes of the council?
I move that we go forward with the changes that are in red, except for the membership portion, where we will use Sherry's suggested language to be more inclusive of what our actual board is right now.
All right. I have a motion
And a second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to our next item. This is an ordinance regulating front yard parking in residential zoning districts. Randy?
Sure. We talked about this, actually Larry had mentioned it, and when we were approving the meeting minutes, that I'd like to see about possibly regulating, having an ordinance that regulates front yard parking in residential areas. And there are a number of communities that have that. Sean was able to find a couple. Greenville is one, and Nightingale is another. So we put those in there, but both those ordinances that those towns have work similarly. You know, they say that if you're going to park in the front yard, it has to be on an improved parking service such as asphalt, concrete, rock, which is intended for parking. And then they also couple that with language in their building regulation ordinances that require a certain percent of the front yard be green space so that you can't concrete the entire front yard. So that's how, you know, these communities do it. I just wanted to get this before the council so you guys have a chance to think about it, consider it. We can find more examples of other towns and take all that into consideration if you guys want to move forward with some type of ordinance regulating parking in the front yard of our residential zoning districts.
Well, at our last meeting when it was first brought up, I did, and the comment that I made was that I was aware of the property that Ms. Joyner was referring to, because I used to live out there. And it's a shame that your neighbor don't respect your property and has it looking the way it is. But then again, myself, I hate for one person to come up before the council with a complaint, a valid complaint, and then we come up with an ordinance that's going to be given out to every resident in the town of Nashville, because everybody's not violating. I would hope that our law officers or even Sean could come up with a way to try to correct this one violator that we've got.
But they're not violating anything without this ordinance.
But they're not violating anything. That's right. They're not violating anything. I understand they're not violating anything, so we can't enforce a whole lot that we don't have. But then again, I don't want to put an ordinance out there that's going to be to every resident in town. I don't think that's fair to them. I would like for us to fix the problem child and not the whole town, if there's a way we can do that.
No. I mean, you can simply ask them, but they'll say, this is my property. There's no ordinance saying that I can't park on my lawn.
And that is true, too. I mean, the people, they own the property, they pay the taxes, and then the town's going to tell them, you know, this is your property, you pay taxes on it, but you can't park 2 more cars on your lot.
I mean, there's a house by me that they moved out, but it was 2 cars in the driveway and then 2 cars catty-cornered in the front lawn, covering up the entire lawn. And that's right on a main street coming into Washington. I mean,
yeah, but it's bad you got neighbors like that. You know, but I don't think we need to penalize everybody just because we got a few sprinkled around in town.
Well, that's why we propose these, and you can take a look at them and talk about them with your constituents and maybe get some feedback.
would it be worth having some sort of, you know, public hearing where people can come and talk, and those who park on their front lawn can give their arguments, and those that hate that their neighbors do can give theirs, and we can see where people stand?
I would like to see that before we come up with an ordinance. I would like to try to rectify this problem.
Can we do something like that?
Without
Randy?
an ordinance to start
Yeah.
with. Put it in the water bills. We're gonna have a meeting like we did the water stuff.
I see it on Nextdoor where people complain, but then I see the people who park on their lawn saying, I'll do what I want.
I've only had one person to come before me to mention it, but I'd like to hear from somebody else. You
Sure.
know.
Woodfield does have covenants. It's been a while since I looked at those, but there may be a provision in those covenants that prohibit vehicles from parking on front yards already.
It may be, Randy, but
it would be up to the property owners.
The covenants that Woodfield has never enforced any part of that covenants to the residents out there.
How old are those covenants?
I built the 3rd house in Woodfield in 1975.
Typically, they're for 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they're not renewed, then
Right.
Yeah,
And then it's a civil matter anyway, right?
it is, yeah.
It's a civil matter.
I mean, it would be up to the other property owners in that subdivision
Right.
to bring action upon the one that's violating.
All right, so the plan is that we'll try to set a time for a public hearing to get some public feedback related to the matter.
And let's just table this for right now.
So
I think it does need to be addressed because there is abuse all over town.
Okay. All right, so we will table the motion, and we'll go forward with seeing what a public hearing may bring from that. All right, next item is scheduling scheduling the public hearing for the recodification of the Nashville Code of Ordinances. Sarah.
Okay. All right, so one of the last steps in getting our code officially recodified is hosting a public hearing, since we are dealing with some land use changes. So I have just proposed in your agenda packets for the public hearing to be held at your next regular meeting on May the 3rd. And I was hoping for a possible adoption after that public hearing concludes. But so far, all I need from you is approval to advertise for the public hearing on May 3rd, 2022, here in the council chambers at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Do I hear the motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and now going to our next item, John O'Keefe, our budget amendments. Good evening.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
So there's 4 tonight. Forget how they're numbered, but if you scroll down, one is recognizing the library kiosk grant in the amount of 30,000 and change.
320.
30,000.
30,320.
30,320. Any questions on that?
That was no matching, right?
No matching, and it's a reimbursement grant. The other was, that was budget amendment number 17. Any questions on that? Is that?
No.
Does council want to do these separately or together?
And previously we did them one by one, but
Okay.
I don't.
We'll continue with that then. All right, for this motion then for the library grant.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, next one, John.
Budget amendment 18, if you remember from our last meeting about the fire truck, this is just recognizing a budget to pay for the fire truck in the amount of $691,694.
And we get the break on that because we're paying up front.
Yeah, we're getting a 23,000. If we pay for it by April 30th, which we'll pay for it, assuming this is approved by Friday, we'll get $23,000 break on that before the prices go up in May, and then we're getting an additional break because we're prepaying it
2 years in advance.
2 years in advance.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, John.
19 is recognizing the receipt of the police block grant for $24,481.70.
Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then our last one, John.
Budget amendment 20 is recognize the receipt of 2 police program sponsorships for K9, $2,500 from the Raleigh Kennel Club and $7,500 from AKC Reunite.
All right.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, great. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of our agenda items. We do have one more item. Randy, you want to bring that before the council related?
Yes, this came up very quickly. Mayor Brown, who isn't with us this evening, but you know, it's always been her dream. We have a beautiful community celebration called the Blooming Fest, yet we don't have a flower downtown for it. So her idea was, let's see if we can get some hanging flower baskets and hangers and put them on the street lampposts in the downtown area and add some color and some bloom for Blooming Fest and for all season. So I do have some past experience with this very type of project. So I put together a packet that for the council to look at this evening, and then you know, per what Brenda would like is for the cost of this to hopefully be shared with the Downtown Strong Advisory Board out of the MSD funds. but since you guys meet before they do, we have it here. But there are 20 lampposts between Barn Street and Alston Street on either side of Washington Street. And to purchase hanging brackets, double hanging brackets, and hanging flower pots that we purchase, and then have the flowers themselves be put into the pots by Harper's Nursery here in Nashville, and acquire mobile watering equipment. The total cost of that project for the 16-inch diameter pots or baskets is $15,440. If you were to go with the 22-inch pots, which actually have a 4-gallon water reservoir in the bottom, where the 16 only have a 1.5 to 2, that would be $16,223. And if you had an opportunity to read through some of the literature on this particular company's hanging basket, the reason I chose these, they have a lifetime warranty, and they're made out of very durable plastic that can be reused for years. They come with 4 steel chains that hang from the brackets instead of the 3 wire ones. Last town I was in Garner, had the 3 wire ones, and after about 2 years, the wires start failing and the plants come down, and of course when they hit the concrete sidewalk, they shatter and break. Nice thing about these also is they have the water reservoir in the bottom of them. They're a pricey unit. The 16-inch ones with the discount that this company's given us are $119. The 22-inch ones with the discount and the quantity discount also $127. But they are well worth the money. With these, you don't have to worry about watering them, at least the 22-inch ones, every day. When I talked with the guys about watering them, and that's something else I wanted to mention to the council. I've been in a town where it was going to be done by the merchants, and that went well for a week to a month, and then they all died. Also in a town that had a community service schedule, people that needed community service, and that went well for about the first 3 days of each servant's service, and then nobody watered them and they all died. If you're going to do a project like this, my recommendation is have somebody that you have some control of that's actually going to come and water them every day, such as our town crew. And it takes about 5 minutes per plant once you get the cart filled to water these. And if you go with the 22, we could water Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon, get through the weekend, so we wouldn't have to incur any overtime of anybody watering them. And in the heat that North Carolina has, you're going to have the water reservoirs in these pods, or those plants are just going to evaporate. I mean, you got 15 to 16 plugs in each one of those plants. So as you can see from the pictures, there's some tremendous biolife in that plant that really needs a lot of moisture. And you would think, even if we get good rains, an inch or so, that should be sufficient. I can tell you from experience that the canopy and the growth that these petunias have, they shed all the water that falls on them. There won't be a drop of a 1-inch rain that will actually make it into the soil that these things are planting in. That's why it's imperative that there be a watering schedule and they be watered regularly, or they just won't make it. But anyway, the vendor said if we order this week, we could get the hangers and the pots before Blooming Fest. Mike Harper told me if he gets the okay to order the plugs for these wave petunias this week, he could get them in and get them in the pots, get a week or so in the greenhouse before he delivers them to us for hanging. But it's a very, very aggressive schedule. If anything falters or doesn't show up, we won't have them up for Blooming Fest.
Council, what are your thoughts?
We're on a tight schedule.
Yeah, I love this idea. I think it's beautiful. I think it's something that we should do, but we are on a very tight schedule.
For the amount of money that we're looking
Right.
at.
And I definitely appreciate that it's a lifetime warranty, so that going forward, the only recurring cost will really be the replacement of the flowers themselves. And I think to get downtown strong on board, they're going to want to see some beautification of the other streets that are being showcased as well, Church and Barnes. So we might even be looking at, standing pots or something like that for those. So maybe we scale down where we don't do every decorative post, where we can do maybe some so we have some flowers, or we can think of maybe planting some annuals for this year in the battleship to have some sort of bloom and beauty and color for this year, and then budget this for next year and years to come. Those are just some thoughts, whatever you all think.
Was the idea to get MSD to split the cost?
That was a goal that the mayor has, to see if they would consider going halves on this.
I wanted to see too what a 16 versus a 22 would look like from the street. My inclination would be to go bigger, but if we don't need to, we could save some money going with the smaller pots.
That's true. Although the cost differential wasn't that great between the 16 and the 22, I noticed.
Okay. No, you're right.
I do like the idea, as Kate said, of having some blooming flowers downtown, but I feel like we are in a real time crunch, such that if any one little thing went wrong, we might have a bit of a problem on our hands. So, but I like the idea too of maybe trying to do something. What is the council's thoughts there about trying to make something happen this year as we approach the Blooming Festival?
So, Coy, you might be able to talk about or is Ashley here? Okay. What Ashley was thinking about, she wants to do perennials in the battleship so that when the Christmas tree isn't there, we have blooming flowers that come back each year but die back for the Christmas tree. I don't know how far you are with that.
Yes, and we did plant some rose bushes in the battleship recently, or I say we, Ashley and Ronnie planted some flowers in the battleship. In that middle area where the tree is, we are going to plant flowers there before Blooming Festival. We're just waiting till closer to time just to make sure that they do have blooms on them when the festival is here. And then we had discussed planting something that would come back year after year, that we could put the tree over top of. They would already be dormant at that time of year, wouldn't affect the plant, and they would come back naturally in the following season.
So do we have any other thoughts of any other color we can get downtown?
I mean, even at this point, if we were to try to do something like some stationary planners, we don't have cost and we're same time frame schedule. But
right.
Anybody have a suggestion? I know we would all love to see some color downtown, but I think we may have to rely on maybe Coy being willing to do what they can with the battleship.
How about some pedestal planners?
Well, I think that's sort of in line with what we're looking at here, maybe, James. These would be hanging baskets, and certainly we want something secure downtown where it wouldn't be potentially bumped up against by citizens or something like that. I realize this is short now. We don't have another meeting this month either, do we? Would council be willing to allow town staff to investigate the possibility of doing something for the Blooming Festival this year? And maybe as long as we can keep the cost perhaps at a minimum. And
the first estimate I got was $7,200. That was something that Brenda gave me, a downtown hanging flowers.
Right, work in progress. You know, that was looking at what we could get from Amazon or through Lowe's, which, you know, aren't the quality of hanging baskets that are in this quote. It didn't include the shipping. That cost estimate was seeing if Lee and the guys could weld and make the brackets for us. They're capable. It isn't going to happen before Blooming Fest, and it also didn't include an estimate for actually buying a watering cart. That was kind of scrounging one together, so to speak, on that cost estimate. What else was in there? Oh, I didn't have a good cost from Harper's Nursery on what the plugs and putting them in the pots would be, along with the potting soil. So that kind of was an investigatory price look.
I think the not making our own brackets, that was $6,600 alone. So that's a large chunk of that difference because we won't have time to make the brackets.
Right.
You got somebody's hand in the back.
How about some of these containers are meant for windows? Take them and hang up from the railings.
Several years ago, and Larry, you may remember that, down at Faith Christian Ministries, they had hanging baskets on the railing. And there was an issue with the handicap who were trying to use the railing to steady themselves. And so they were beautiful, but they had to be removed. And we understood why. You know, there were people who actually came to us and said, you know, I'm handicapped, I depend on that railing. And you remember that?
Yeah, it seems like I do.
Anyway.
What about, and I haven't said anything about this because I'm not a flowery person, okay? So I'm leaving this to the ladies on the board, on the council. But what about the trays about this long that would hang on to the outside of a rail and put flowers in that? That would not hinder anybody from using the rail to steady themselves. And I would think it would be quite a bit
What
cheaper.
is it secure to?
It hangs on. It just hangs on the rail.
I think that's what they had.
Is that what? That
Right.
Was,
But
okay.
I guess people who were trying to hold on were then holding on to the top of the hanger for the basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people who use the lower sidewalk to get to the stairwells or the ramps, and then there are pedestrians who use, you know, the upper sidewalk. So anything on those rails I could see would be problematic.
We can look into some of the self-watering, and they are pricey, but the self-watering pots that stand on the floor, and then those could be moved in future years to the church and the Barn Street areas for beautification after this year, if you want to investigate that.
But then do you incur a liability for somebody walking down the street to stumble over one of them?
I guess as much so as you would with the garbage can.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't have an opinion on it myself, to be honest with you. Don't have an alternative.
So like the Mediterranean globe, is that what you were looking at, Kate?
Right, maybe something taller though. Something with some real height. There's not any in these examples that
No, they're all
is
at
the height.
24 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm for allowing staff to investigate and see if we can do something that maybe is just a little bit lower in budget so that we can get all our ducks in a row and we can make a real true presentation to the Municipal Service District Downtown Nashville Strong Board to see if they would be on board with doing this as a staged process to get all of our streets beautified for the Blooming Festival.
Okay.
And it might be the next year.
Right.
Right.
All right. So I think we've sort of thrown the ball back in your court there, Randy, a little bit.
It's okay.
And,
I'll investigate too.
I'm sure, you know, we have the Downtown Strong Advisory Board meeting tomorrow night. Sherry has that lined up. We'll likely get some ideas and some suggestions from the Downtown Strong Advisory Board members also.
And Sherry, I believe, was it you, maybe? Someone brought us, the board, an example of one of those self-watering pots. Maybe it was before you. If I can dig up that paperwork, I'll get it to you, because we did actually have a quote for a large container that maybe we get 3 of those this year, and then we can move them to other places.
all right. Okay, then. Let's see. I think we have covered items in our agenda. Randy, do you have a manager's report for us tonight?
James had an idea, maybe stenciling and painting flowers on the downtown business windows,
I like that.
kind of like you do for homecoming and different things, as a possibility.
Okay. Another idea that was floated, we talked just briefly about, Larry, you want to share your idea about flags?
I brought this idea up several years ago, and nobody seemed to tag on to it, but I had an idea, just get these yard flags that ladies love to hang them in the yards, and have it's about like this, to hang on. Look, y'all help me, ladies. The yard flags,
Yeah.
but have on them home of the Blooming Festival. And you could get those and let the residents that wanted to fly them, and anybody that wanted to fly them, purchase them from whomever. That way, it doesn't come out of the town's coffer.
That's a great idea.
And I think a lot of people would love to
Line
buy
Main
them and
Street.
we can line Main Street up with it, plus
Barns.
put it in residences all over town.
And MSD is, since you mentioned that, the MSD is actually working on, I'm sorry, the Downtown Nashville Strong is actually working on to approving the final banner design for year 2 of the Banner Initiative program. And so there were suggestions of having flags, the existing flags they have now, they will be coming down and new ones will be going up. So there were some suggestions for to have home of the Nashville Blooming Festival on them.
Yeah.
So there are designs for that as well. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be making a final decision for that. So
Somebody finally heard my suggestion. I appreciate that.
I think that's a great idea. I'd buy one.
Yes.
I would.
Yeah.
I'd buy one. I'm not a flower person, but I'd buy 2 or 3 of those.
All right.
But
Okay, so Randy, do you have a manager's report for us tonight?
I am good, thank you.
Okay. Council members, Kate,
Nothing tonight.
Louise?
I'd like to say something. In Public Works, we just had a long-time employee to retire, Ronnie Denton. I think he was with us about 10 years. Is that right, Lee?
Correct.
And I can remember when he first came to the town, I received a phone call, and the person who called me said that was the smartest move the town ever made, by hiring Ronnie Denton. Well, I didn't know Ronnie, but that person was absolutely correct. He has been an essential person in Public Works, and we're going to miss him.
Absolutely.
We will.
And
We
I
appreciate
think
it.
he has such a wonderful attitude. Anytime you ever saw him, huge smile on his face. And
Yes.
did we
Always
do it?
happy.
Did we do anything for Ronnie on his way out?
I think we did.
We had several large meals that week.
Several large meals. Okay. I would like to suggest to the town manager that we do at least come up with a certificate of appreciation and present it to him at a later date.
Sounds great.
I like that idea. Everybody else? All right. Louise, anything else? Larry?
Nothing from me.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out to our meeting tonight and putting up with me as I preside for the first time. I will be glad to welcome Mayor Brown back at our next meeting and hope you'll join us then.
I think you did well.
Thank you.
You did
Thank
great.
you, everyone, for coming. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.